It's got a natural slant. Arrest me. So, this is, like the title entails, a respectful video response to EDP, Eat That Pussy 445. I'm not going to mention your weight. I'm not going to mention your sex life. I'm not going to mention any of those things because that has nothing to do with your argument. There are other people who are saying that for me. And I would never use that as an argument against you because, again, it has nothing to do with what you said. Despite the fact that the last two videos that have to do with Cam Newton and the Super Bowl have been two completely asinine videos with very asinine and very flawed logic to them. Again, Eat That Pussy, when I met him during one of the most exciting football games I've ever watched, where my favorite quarterback at the time threw 7 touchdowns in one game, the guy's a class act in person. You know, whatever he shows in the media or whatever he shows on YouTube, it's completely different to what he is. He's a good guy. And I wish that more people would get a chance to know the dude before ripping him apart. But, of course, the last two videos that he's made on this subject hasn't helped, you know, global opinion about the dude. Not that it really matters. But let me get to your point. Your main point in review is that the reason why Cam Newton isn't accepted in the sports world is because he's a black quarterback and people hate black quarterbacks. Now let me first get to, the first thing I'm going to say. Of course people hate other black people. Of course people hate Cam Newton because he's black. Those people are racists, bigots, and Donald Trump supporters. Drop mic. Joke. Okay? I don't like Cam Newton, personally. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's a good football player. He put up great numbers this year. And as a quarterback, I mean, he's set records for not only his team, but also as a rookie. I don't like him as a person. You know, Cam Newton is one of the things I hate the most about my generation. The constant celebrating, the constant dabbing, which I hope dies, like Gangnam Style, the Harlem Shake, hoverboards. I hope they all die with dabbing, okay? I know he gives the football to kids in the stands when he scores a touchdown. But if I was Cam Newton, I wouldn't be giving the ball to kids while scoring a touchdown. I'd give the ball to my offensive line and my receivers. Because that's my real inspiration on the play, not some 10-year-old boy or girl in the crowd. Does it show that he's a good person? Yeah, but he doesn't need to do that. It seems like he's beating a dead horse. He's making himself look like a nice person or a good person when he should be showing it in other ways. Personally, that's how I feel. I think he's a great player. He just has low maturity and low awareness of him and society. And I find it highly hypocritical, EDP, that you make a video claiming that people are racist against Cam Newton because he's black, but you've openly said occurrences that you hate Tom Brady, quarterback of the New England Patriots, who happens to be one of the most successful white quarterbacks in history. You've said just about every mean thing about him. You've called him a cheater. You've called him a pussy. You've said that he needs to wear a tutu on the field because he complains about every call. Now, according to your logic, your words, we could all say right now that you are racist against Tom Brady because he is a white quarterback. You see, it goes hand in hand. You can't have your cake and eat it too on this argument. Second thing I want to address with you. You made a video after the Super Bowl saying that the Super Bowl was fixed and the NFL basically wanted Peyton Manning to ride off into the sunset with his Vince Lombardi trophy, with his second trophy and his second ring, and Cam Newton, because he's black, he doesn't get to win. First of all, Russell Wilson won the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson is black. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not just saying that because he has dark skin, okay? Technically, we all have a little bit of black in us. Going way back to Mesopotamia, okay? They did a study. A white supremacist came on some British talk show, and he learned that he was like 12% black, and of course he denied it, and he got upset. But genetics is genetics. I'm sure that Russell Wilson is more black than he is white. But I'm not going to argue race on here. He's a black quarterback. His skin is darker than a lot of other black people I've ever seen, and he's won a Super Bowl. So you can throw race out there completely. And if you're going to say that the Broncos winning the Super Bowl was completely scripted, then you also have to go on the other side of the spectrum and say the Panthers being in the Super Bowl was also scripted. If it was all scripted, then the Panthers should have never been there in the first place. Sure, there were a few bad calls in that game. I don't think anyone can argue that. Personally, I think Jericho Cotchery caught that ball. But I also would say that there was no conclusive evidence to say that they could overturn it. If it was a catch, then of course there would have been no evidence to overturn that either. Like, I love it when people, consistently bash the officials for making bad calls, but you'd be making bad calls too if you were an official. Okay? Was it scripted that Von Miller forced two strip sacks of Cam Newton, which both resulted in touchdowns, one for the defense and one for the offense? Was it scripted that Graham Gano missed a field goal that he should have made? Was it scripted that Riverboat Ron challenged a 7-yard gain, which should have been called down by contact sack, which lost him his second challenge in one of the worst game management mistakes in Super Bowl history? Was that his fault? Was that scripted too? Was all of that scripted? Because if you're just gonna say, "Oh, it's scripted that Peyton Manning went to the Super Bowl," you have to tell me that all that stuff was scripted too. All the way down to the Super Bowl, all the way down to, Beyonce has to, sing at halftime, and so does Coldplay, and Lady Gaga has to sing the national anthem and Bruno Mars also has to be a part of the halftime show as well. And Eli Manning was sitting in the crowd or in a box seat and everyone was going crazy. No. Instead of thinking about conspiracy theories and how and what coulda, shoulda, woulda happened, let's instead think of the now. Could it have been scripted? Yeah, it totally could have been scripted. Somebody in the Illuminati, the Freemasons could have totally decided to, script this whole thing as it was with the help of Roger Goodell, who happens to be a Broncos fan right now, ever since his parting with the Patriots. But more often than not, it's probably not a conspiracy. So again, that's all I have to say to you, EDP. I think your argument was asinine, and I think that, honestly, you should have thought about it harder before speaking. And this is my respectful response because I know you're a good guy, I know you're a good person, All these people who bash you 24/7, they don't know the real you. They don't know that you're a good guy. That's all I got.